Welcome to the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast, your main resource for 2QB fantasy insights, smart bets, and winning props. Hosted by Fab, Knack, and Raj.
Yes, it feels so good to be back. Woo! Yes, just back from a cruise, ladies and gentlemen. I missed you all last week. I'm sure you missed me as well. I am your host for this episode. I am Knack. That's Raj, and that's Fab, making some funny little hand gestures there. What a start to free agency it was, boys. It really hit the ground running on Monday. As of noon was the tampering period. I still don't know why they call it tampering, because it's actually legal to talk to free agents at that time. I just can't make it, official. So I don't know why they call it tampering. But
everything was like official. Everything was like this guy's signing. This guy's. It's like these guys are talking way before.
I don't know why you can't make it official. It's so weird. Legal tampering. That like it doesn't really jive, right? But anyways, that's what they call it. And the new league year actually started today at 4 p.m. So there was some news that was trickling in as well that finally was confirmed. A lot of the obviously team Twitters and Instagrams started posting them because it was actually legal. And so in this episode, we're gonna highlight all the free agent signings and trades. And there is a lot to get through, so we're going to dive right in. Let's start with the most important positions. We are going to have the QBs. So the biggest domino to fall in terms of QBs was QB Sam Darnold, who picked predictably, obviously, the Seattle Seahawks. 3 years, $100.5 million contract. I believe there's an out after 2 years, so it's really 2 years. And I think he only got about, was it 60 guaranteed?
55. I thought it was 55 guaranteed.
Yeah, there you go. 55,
36
55 guaranteed.
AAV.
Yeah, exactly. And funny enough, he got $500,000 more than Baker's contract that was signed last year. So not really too much of an upgrade. Sorry. How are we feeling about this one? How do we like the fit, Raj?
I've always been weary of the Darnold stuff because of the past obviously had a really good season, but then those last two games I know have a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. The Detroit game, the Rams game. I think my issue is he goes to a Seahawks team that has always had issues with the offensive line, and he's just not as good when he's pressured, right? And he's not going to have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Kevin O'Connell. So I'm very weary. And if you go through like Seahawks Twitter, Seahawks Reddit, a lot of people don't think this is an upgrade. There was a big backing for Geno Smith. Like the metrics NFL people love Geno Smith because he did way more with less. So I actually, a lot of people, and I agree, I don't think it's an upgrade at all.
I honestly think it was an upgrade. He did go 14-2, but you do make a very good point, as a lot of people do. Let's see what he does without Kevin O'Connell. Let's see what he does without Justin Jefferson, without Addison, without Hawkinson. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I think it's a slight upgrade on Geno Smith. Roger, I mean, Fab, I know you're looking like you want to say something.
I don't think it's at best case scenario, you're trading 4 quarters for $1. The only thing is that Sam Darnold, I think, is going to regress in 2025, not because of Sam Darnold, but because of the offense that's around him and because of the offensive line. You trade away DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett you release, which I understand. I get it. He's old. Fine, no problem. But then who's he throwing to besides Jackson Smith and Jigbo, which by all accounts, last year with the Vikings, Sam Darnold had a very, I don't remember exactly the number, but he had a pretty high average depth of target. I don't know how it's going to translate without having those big pieces in Seattle. Yeah, sure, they signed Valdez-Scantling. Woohoo. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that's going to necessarily translate. Yeah, and Jake Bobo is there too, for sure. But yeah, from a quarterback standpoint,
it was a joke.
Sure.
You know who Jake Bobo?
I know who Jake Bull is just by virtue of the depth chart, but yeah, I think it's going to be a tough year for Sam Darnold next year. I do. I like Geno Smith going to the Raiders actually, but
Love.
for a third round pick, that was such a good value too.
Love.
Yeah, so that's a great segue into Geno Smith, who was traded to the Raiders, obviously before the Seattle Seahawks signed Sam Darnold, and he's likely going to get a new contract upcoming because I don't think there's very much guaranteed left in his deal. But yeah, no, I definitely like the fit. We've been talking about this. I think we talked about this all year, and even at the beginning of last year that the Raiders were kind of like a QB away from that a pretty set up roster, and they're just looking for a QB. Like, do I think Geno Smith is the guy to lead them to the promised land? No, but it's a far cry from what they've had the last few years. I think you guys both can. I
I
think
think
all
he's
three
top
of us can
five.
agree.
He's top 5 in QB wins, if I'm not mistaken, in the past 3 years.
Geno Smith.
So yeah, I think it was top 5 or top 8 in QB wins. Yeah, he's been like one of the better QBs, like in the top 8 to 10 range. I remember seeing the stats somewhere on
Top 5.
Twitter.
Wow.
Well, like,
And
cause like that means obviously there's Lamar, Allen, Mahomes, who have
well,
definitely more wins than him.
Hurts.
they've had like an 11, well, top 8,
Hurts, Purdy.
maybe it's
Yeah, I
top
think
8.
top 8 makes more sense.
Yeah, I think
It,
top 8 makes a little bit more sense.
and,
Anyway,
and any
top 10 for sure.
top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10.
Okay,
Gino has done a lot with less. And that's where I see, like, if you're, and look, this discussion is basically Geno versus Sam Darnold. If the Seahawks, obviously they're going with Darnold, they have to shore up the offensive line,
Yeah.
which
Big
we
time.
saw that Geno was able to. If you look at his advanced metrics, he was still able to have like pretty good things like, you know, completion percentage and like downfield throw, and his on target rate apparently was really, really good. This despite a bad offensive line. Jackson Smith and Jigba came up, but DK Metcalf, in my opinion, and I know we'll talk about him later, Nak, he's been regressing to me over the past 2 years. So he's been able to do more with less, which I just don't think Sam Darnold will be able to do. If Sam Darnold is going to have the same season he had with Minnesota, they're going to have to stockpile a lot more talent on that team.
Yeah, there's no way he has the same. There's no way he's going to have the same year as he did in Minnesota for sure. Moving on to our next QB, former Steeler Justin Fields signs with the Jets, 2 years, $40 million with $30 million guaranteed. I believe it's like a 1 year kind of deal. There's not much guaranteed in year 2, so he's very easily cuttable should he really crap the bed. Obviously, the Steelers I think were offering something close to 2 years, 30 million with 20 million guaranteed and zero guaranteed money in the second year. I ask you, Fab, what does this one look like for you?
I mean, I like it for Justin Fields. I even like it for the Jets, to be honest with you. I think it's good that they get a young quarterback that has been ascending, I want to say, in the last little while. Don't forget, right? I mean, we'll talk about how like Justin Fields wasn't a good quarterback for Chicago, but DJ Moore had one of his best years ever with him. So I don't think it's going to necessarily hurt Garrett Wilson, his former college teammate as well. They still have some nice pieces on there. The offensive line is still pretty decent. They still have Brees Hall over there too. Um, listen, it's a bit of a make it or break it scenario for Justin Fields as
Yeah.
well, I think. But
Big time.
you know, I applaud the Jets for making this move. I really do. You know, and I think we'd spoken about it a few weeks ago about how like Justin Fields to New York would make a lot of sense. You're not putting up a lot as far as guaranteed money is concerned, so the risk is low. The reward is high. It's massive, right? It reminds me a lot of Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, and all those scenarios. I I like this move a lot. I think it makes a lot of sense, and also from like a regime standpoint, right? You bring in a new coach, new offensive coordinator, all these guys, right? So they want to start fresh with a new young guy, and you can do far worse than Justin Fields. So I like this move a lot from the Jets standpoint and from the Justin Fields standpoint as well, and even from fantasy standpoint. He's a QB2 next year, no problem.
Yeah.
He was putting up QB1
Jet.
numbers
Oh yeah,
when he had the ball. Raj, anything to add?
Yeah, just quickly back on Geno Smith, sixth between March 2022 to March 2025, sixth in QB wins with 27.
Who is
So,
seventh?
Wow,
seventh was Darnold, 26.
nice.
Shit.
That sounds weird.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I guess
Darnold had
14
the
came from one season.
14, and then the Panthers.
I guess the Panthers you won a few.
Stat Muse is
Yeah.
not always reliable, so we'll let details get away with a good story.
We check our sources here on
Yeah,
this podcast,
exactly.
ladies and gentlemen.
Fields, I think, and I told you guys this. I think Brees Hall's gonna have a big year. I don't think they're gonna give Fields like the huge reins in terms of throwing the ball. So I can imagine a scenario where think of the Eagles, where you have Jalen Hurts, 20 to 25 passes per game, high efficient offense with Garrett Wilson, and then hand the ball off to Brees Hall, which I think we all still think is a talented player, albeit had a quite disappointing year. Fab, yes, I know you did not like Brees Hall
I
last
just want
year.
to say, Brees Hall is like 1 year away from being the Kyle
Being
Pitts
1
of
year
running
away.
backs if this continues.
Oh, come on. That's such an unfair
We're
assessment.
really gonna have a Brees Hall discussion now?
No, we're definitely
I
not.
like Brees Hall. I do. They got to use him properly, and Braylon Allen being there like muddies the water a little bit. We're going to see how that works out in training camp, but
So
Yeah, go ahead.
no, just staying on Justin Fields for a second. I actually got some nice stats that kind of I personally don't think it's a good fit. I would have preferred him going to the Raiders. Obviously, making that move for Geno Smith was obviously canceled that out. But Fields is 0-22 when the opposing team scores 20 points or more. And in the fourth quarter in his career, he has 56% completion percentage, 13 TDs, 16 INTs, and a passer rating of 67. Now he goes to a team with a defensive coach at the helm. I don't know. This wasn't my favorite move for him. I think to start, he wanted a chance to start and be the starter.
I don't like those stats are skewed for me because a
I'm
lot
not
of it comes from
necessarily
Chicago. Those stats are skewed for me because a lot of it comes from Chicago. When you talk about he's 0-22 when the team puts up
when the opposing team puts up 20 points.
Yeah, that's on a defense. That's not on him.
Well, that means he can't score over 20 points to win a game.
Yeah, but now he's going to the Jets, so it's a defensive culture. I'm just saying, like I don't really fully agree with that. With
0-22 is a really poor stat when a team puts up 20 plus
Chicago
points.
were a very poor team while he was there as well.
Well, when they scored 19.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, but I mean, listen, when you're a good quarterback, you carry the team, right? You're a guy who comes in and you're always going to be put in a bad situation because you're drafted high, right? Especially in the first round. So, I mean,
that's why
you can't just put it all on Chicago.
Yeah, but that's why I think I hope I don't know this guy Tanner something, the new Jets OC. I don't know anything about him. I think he came. I want to say he had some stints in Detroit, but I really don't remember. I really don't know. But I just hope there will be a team, which is the Jets, that use him in a way that similar to Jalen Hurts. Again, 20 to 25 passes a game, leverage the run game. They should have a good defense again. Try not to put it all on him because there were like I'm going through Fields' game log from the Bears, his Bears season 2023. And there was some real, like he had a really good Denver game, 335 yards, 80% completion percentage. Really good game, week 14 versus Detroit, over 300 yards total offense. So like there's the splash games, just a lot. There was the Washington game. That's where like DJ Moore. I don't know if you guys remember that one, the Thursday nighter. DJ Moore went absolutely off. So like he has some games where like he can really be good. It's just the consistency with him and throwing over the middle. That's always been.
Hopefully they just unleash him though. Like just let him be Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Unleash Justin Fields. Like the Steelers didn't do that.
Unleash.
And they didn't even do that for Russell Wilson, which is the funniest part. They didn't allow him to audible. Like how could you not allow a quarterback not to be a quarterback and audible?
Yeah, just last thing before you go, Fab. Tanner Engstrand. So he has been with Detroit for over the past 4 years. So offensive assistant, offensive quality control coach. He was passing game coordinator last year. So been around Ben Johnson. So they're going to leverage the running game. I think they're going to scheme the hell out of it if it's a Detroit offense, they scheme the hell out of their players, so they'll put the players in the right position.
Yeah, I
Let's
was
hope.
going to say exactly that. I had that information in front of me
Oh, sorry,
right
Fa.
now. No, that's okay. No, that's fine.
Yeah, me too. I was gonna say that.
Well, fine. Did you know that he was also the offensive coordinator for the XFL team, the DC Defenders? No, you didn't.
I didn't
No,
because I
you
don't watch
didn't.
the XFL.
Someone didn't come prepared.
Moving on, I'll just name off a few here. Daniel Jones signed with the Colts, $14 million. I think that
Big ups to
was.
Danny Dimes, baby.
I
Big
think
ups to Danny
was.
Dimes.
I think kudos on the Colts to be honest.
Oh yeah,
And I think for Daniel Jones, best situation for him because he knows he's going to get in there at some point.
1,000,000%.
Yeah. Then you have Marcus Mariota earlier today signed a 1-year, $14 million deal as well to stay with the Commanders as their backup. Funny bit of news: Kenny Pickett was traded to the Browns, and the Browns actually paid a fifth
Super
round
Bowl
pick
winning
and
Kenny Pickett.
DTR,
Super Bowl
which
winning Kenny Pickett.
which we don't say that, Fab.
Last snap, Kenny Pickett.
It's but you see the meme or the gif of him like throwing the football and like he goes launching with it in an Eagles uniform.
It's
That was pretty funny.
Kenny Two Gloves over there, man. What do you expect?
And then we're obviously waiting on the big ones to fall here. Aaron Rodgers taking his time, says he's deciding between, or reports say he's deciding between the Steelers and the Giants, and then there's the dark horse Vikings. Then you have Russell Wilson kind of waiting, and now there was reports saying that he's actually visiting the Browns this week and then visiting the Giants.
Can I just say something about Russell Wilson quickly? Like,
Sure.
the fact that the Giants want him makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, but who are you going to put there?
His-
You're going to really
Yeah,
put without Danny DeVito?
Expound on
We
that.
have the third pick in the draft.
Yeah, but what if? Okay,
Yeah, dude,
so I'll
there's
give you
no
an example.
guarantee we're gonna
Example: if
there's no guarantee we're gonna be able to even pick
Cam Ward
Sanders
goes
or
to the Titans and Shadur goes to the Browns, then what? Are you going Jackson Dart at 3?
Trade down for Jackson Dart. Like,
There's no
Nak,
guarantees. That's the problem.
Nak,
And you have
you
one QB
saw-
on your roster.
Nak, you saw how like Russell Wilson, the first game was fine, it was good. That check down to touchdown BS. I'm not going to watch that.
I agree,
not
but
gonna watch that,
it's
man.
more they need a body, right?
it's not
This
even a
is-
body.
James-
He's
Jameson
gonna be
Winston-
the best quarterback that we're gonna have on our roster in the last half decade. And I know that doesn't
I
say
just
a
can't
lot,
do it.
but it's still the best thing we've ever had
I can't
in
do
the
it.
last 6 years as a
can't do it.
quarterback standpoint.
It just shows the lack of plan from Joe Shane. There's no
Of
plan.
course,
There's no
of
vision.
course.
Yeah,
To be in this
it's, of
situation,
course.
it's embarrassing, and it's
Yeah,
second straight
it
off
is.
season where
Well,
where the embarrassment of the league.
I mean, look at the Steelers though. It's the same thing. There's Skylar Thompson right now on the roster. You just gave DK Metcalf 150 million.
Yeah.
And Skylar Thompson's your only quarterback, and now you're waiting on Aaron Rodgers. And if he doesn't sign, then who's left? You know who they're going to go get is Mason Rudolph, and he's going to start next year, which would be jumping into Giants territory of craziness in the leadership and the ownership room. That would be such a, and then you're DK Metcalf, and you're like, what did I just sign up for? You know.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, we're waiting. So that's a Russell Wilson domino likely falls shortly after Aaron Rodgers, unless he decides to sign with the Browns. Kirk Cousins, I think for right now, they're seem content keeping him. I guess with Penn, on a rookie deal, they've got to pay. They're paying that much anyway, so they have
Exactly,
a
right?
solid backup.
Keep the dead cap, right? So you might as well just have the backup and have the
Well,
mentorship.
exactly. I might
Well,
as well
yeah,
imagine
there's-
that you probably have the best backup in the league in
Yeah.
those terms. And then last bit of QB news: Josh Allen signs a massive 6-year extension, $330 million with $250 million guaranteed. He actually said he took less. He told his agent to take less to not, to help out the team. I think his annual is $55 million, so definitely took a lot less than he could have.
Sure.
And then the notable remaining targets still out there would be Jameis Winston, as we mentioned, Mason Rudolph, Joe Flacco, and Mac Jones. So I'm sure they will all find homes at some point, but I guess everyone's waiting on Aaron Rodgers. Moving on to some running back news. So the bigger contracts were Aaron Jones re-signing with the Vikings, 2 years, $20 million, and Najee Harris ups with the Chargers, 1 year, up to 9.25 million. Rogers, which one did you like more in terms of fit?
I mean, the Aaron Jones one, you weren't there, Nak, when we talked about it, but I think Fab and I both felt he was going to go back to the Vikings. Never really felt that they were going to shy away from that. The Najee one, I've gone back and forth where I wasn't sure why they didn't just re-sign J.K. Dobbins, but I think, like, if I think of the type of
Durability.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and I think of the type of running back that Jim Harbaugh wants. He wants an innings eater, a guy that's reliable. Najee Harris has played, I think, every game in his 4 years in the league, and I read a stat on Twitter. I don't remember who it was, but who said that Justin Herbert's efficiency increases when he has a pass catching running back. And we're not that far from the days where Najee Harris was catching 75 to 80 balls a year. So he has that to him. And yeah, so I think I like it. I like it. It's a cheap deal. It's an incentive heavy deal. So I like it.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think he likes like kind of ground and pound because I saw his longest career run. I think is only 37 yards, so it's not one of the
Mhm.
guys that's going to hit home run shots. But he hasn't missed a game in his career, so I think that was a big thing for him as well. Wanted a running back that could be there. Anything to add with that, Fab?
So Kyle Brandt on Good Morning Football this morning said that Jim Harbaugh obviously has a long memory because when Bama went up against Michigan, Najee Harris ran for like 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. So they were saying how like, obviously this is Harbaugh's guy and he wanted him. And I love this move. I like this a lot. They get they get their plotting running back that they needed in that offense. Like Gus Edwards wasn't getting it done. J.K. Dobbins wasn't the guy. Like it's just G Harris is
League
durable.
winner.
Was that a
Put some
compliment?
respect in his name.
Was that
Was
a
that
compliment? The plotting running back. Was that supposed
plotting
to be a
running
compliment?
back? He just plots in there. No, but seriously, like he's gonna get you he was getting 4 yards to carry in Pittsburgh when everyone knew they couldn't throw the ball. So you have to
And
figure
with a
that's gonna
poor O line.
yeah, exactly. The O line is substantially better in substantially. It's better in with the Chargers with Slater and Joe Alt on both the ends over there. I don't know. I like this move a lot, honestly. I think this makes a lot of sense, and the fact he signed for one deal is a nice prove it deal for him too. Sorry, he signed for 1 year. It's a nice prove it deal for him too. So this could turn into a bigger contract for him next year if he performs, which I think he will.
Yeah, I honestly like the fit, to be honest. But we'll move on to the rest. There's only a lot of cheaper deals in the running back rooms. You had Javonte Williams, who signed with the Cowboys, 1 year, 3 million. Kenneth Gainwell signed for a year. Rico Dowdle signed with the Panthers for a year. Sorry, Gainwell, excuse me, with the Steelers. Elijah Mitchell with the Chiefs, 1 year, 3 million. A lot of similar contracts here, and just recently, AJ Dillon signed with the Eagles.
The Dowdle one
Anything?
is offer sheet, right? Because
No, he
he was
was.
an RFA. He was an RFA.
I don't think they may not have tendered him. If they didn't
Okay.
tender him, then
Yeah.
he could be a free agent. I'm pretty sure he was a free agent
Man.
if they didn't tender him. Which I like. Why wouldn't you if you're the Cowboys? I don't know. They really messed up that running
They
back room.
they did nothing in the last 2 days. The Cowboys. They
The
lost
last 2 years. It's the
but
last
yeah,
two free agencies. They can't do anything. They have to sign Parsons, and they've
yeah.
handicapped themselves with CeeDee Lamb and Dak's contract, which is just going to get worse and worse. But Fab, out of the ones I mentioned, is there anything that really jumps off the page?
Elijah Mitchell with the Chiefs, actually. I like that a lot. I think that it's a very, very sleeper sort of signing. And I mean, the you saw Pacheco, you saw Kareem Hunt. Even Pacheco, when he came back from his injury, he didn't look the same. Obviously, there's more time for him to heal up and all that stuff. But Elijah Mitchell, when he gets the opportunity, he's played really, really well. He has a lot of burst, has a lot of speed. So I think obviously this makes probably Kareem Hunt dispensable in that offense.
He's
But
gone. I
yeah,
think. I
I
think he's
like
already
that a
gone.
lot. What's that?
I think he's already gone. No. No.
He's a
Right.
free agent. He's a
He's
free
a free
agent.
agent, right? So there it
Yeah.
is. So I just
He's injury prone. This guy is like
yeah,
always injured. I hope he could stay healthy because yeah, I agree. He could be a pretty decent piece to that to offense as a change of pace.
for Dallas, are we guaranteed that they're going to be drafting GT in the first round at this point? Because you can't start the season with Javante Williams. You can't.
Honestly, if
You-
they kept Dowdle, I would have
Yeah.
liked Javonte Williams and Dowdle. I
Yeah,
think
Yes.
so
that
would I.
like that would have been
Yes.
a cute
Yeah.
pair together.
Yes.
I
That would have
I
been
don't
really,
understand why they got rid of Rico Dowdle. I don't get it.
really,
He
really
played well.
nice. And actually, going to the Panthers, I think hurts Chuba Hubbard a little bit
Yeah.
because Rico Dowdle can, he could play, right? He could ball a bit. So I think that took a little bit away from there. But obviously, 1 year deal because of Brooks, who's going to be back the following season, hopefully.
Mhm.
Guys,
And
Dalton was good at the end, man. He had like
yeah,
Yeah.
3 out of 4 100-yard games, and all of those he was over 5 yards per carry. He looked fantastic. He finished with
yeah.
235 carries, 1,080 yards, and they only started using him in November. Really,
When they signed Javante, I was like, but I'm like, oh, you know what? Him and Dowdle could do like acute damage together. That'd be like a pretty good, pretty decent duo. And then they didn't tender him or didn't sign him, which was incredibly weird. Um, and also, just bit of news is Kyle Juszczyk,
Yeah.
9-time All-Pro fullback, was released by the 49ers among 75 other people that the 49ers lost out on
Mhm.
this summer. But I think he's going to be very coveted, though. I think he's going to find
I hope so.
find
I
a
hope
find a
so.
place. Raj,
Not a Fab. Sorry, Knack. Jalen Warren, is he top 15 running back now that Najee is out? Because I've always been a big fan of his.
top 15. Look, they haven't cut Cordell Patterson yet. I suspect they will, likely after the draft. I don't think he's got guaranteed money. The Steelers rarely guarantee after the first year, especially with players like that. I think they've only broken precedent with Ben and TJ Watt in the past. So, um, look, I'd have to ask me that question after the draft and see who they take, because they're definitely going to draft a running back, because top 15 is definitely Gainwell is not a guy that they won't go 50-50. Like Gainwell's going
No,
to, I think he was brought in to also return kicks because Patterson looked really slow last year. They thought he was going to be their guy, but didn't look great. So ask me after the draft. I think I'll have a better indication to tell you, because if they pick a stud, obviously they don't have a second round pick this year. So like if I have to answer right now, I would probably say yes, just because of the juice that he brings. But I've never really seen him as a like RB1 kind of 3 down back. So we'll see. And then the notable guys remaining, I think we mentioned a couple. J.K. Dobbins, there's Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and Gus Edwards left to sign. So I don't think there's going to be anyone's in a rush to sign really any of these guys at the moment. These guys will probably be signed after the draft. Then we get to the wide receivers. So we've got a couple big contracts and then a few kind of mediocre ones, but the big ones were obviously DK Metcalf, who was traded to the Steelers for a second round pick. Then the Steelers gave him a 5-year, $150 million contract without a QB signed. There
Poor
was
guy.
Davante Adams, 2 years, $46 million to the Rams. And Chris Godwin, 3 years, $66 million to re-up with the Buccaneers, and he reportedly left upwards of $20 million on the table, as the Patriots obviously offered him more, but chose to stay in Tampa Bay, which I kind of don't blame him. But
Yeah.
Raj, which one of the three that you like the most here?
Davante to LA fits like a glove, man.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be
Mhm.
used across the formation. He could run the full route tree. Like him and Puka, they're going to interchange routes,
Mhm.
interchange areas where they line up on the field. And one thing not to forget is McVay worked with Matt LaFleur, I believe, in Washington. So they're going to know how to deploy him really, really well based off Davante's time with LaFleur in Green Bay. So that's going to be, I think both those guys, it's WR1 territory, man. I think it's going
Mhm.
to be a big year for them.
I think
And
it's gonna be fun to watch with
Yeah.
Stafford.
Stafford too. Totally.
Fab,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Well, just stay on the Rams for a second. That team is funny. They went from trading Matthew Stafford to getting Davante Adams, and all of a sudden they're looking like a Super Bowl team all over again, which I think is hilarious. I like the Chris Godwin signing. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I'm happy that he's sticking around with the Bucks, because in the first 6 games last year before he got injured, he was really turning it on. Josh Palmer to the Bills, actually, I like a lot too. I think that's going to give that offense another dimension that I might not have had before. Yeah, those ones were really jumped off the page. And Hollywood Brown sticking with the Chiefs for another year. It was kind of unfortunate. The entirety of the year last year, he was injured, and he only came in towards the end of the season and wasn't featured that much in the playoffs. But he still had a few good games. I still reserve my comments about how in those 6 or 7 games a year ago when he was playing with the Cardinals, and it was DeAndre Hopkins, who was injured or was suspended, I believe, for the first few games of the season. Like Hollywood Brown really turned it on with Kyler Murray, and I think he has a
Yeah.
potential in him. I know I'm talking about like 18 months ago here, but assuming he's fully healthy from his injury, I do like the upside that he brings for the Chiefs, coming in cheap too. So even from a fantasy standpoint, I was talking about him really highly at the beginning of the last year, and then out of nowhere he just got injured, which was really unfortunate because he was out for the entirety of the season. But I like Hollywood Brown sticking with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm not sure about the Josh Palmer. I feel like he got it was 3 years, 36 million. Seems like it was a bit high for a Josh Palmer,
Who are you bidding
especially a guy
against?
who's he's also injured a lot as well. So I wasn't really sure about that one. There was also another kind of questionable one from the Giants. Darius Slayton, 3 years, 36 million. I know that there was memes being passed around that they didn't want to give Barkley $38 million, but they gave Slayton 36, which again a little bit strange, but
Mm.
he's a good receiver. Also a little bit injury prone. I was kind of surprised at the contract, um, especially with no QB in place at the moment. So
Well, yeah,
kind of
he
strange.
hasn't had a QB in 5 years, and he's still putting up like 700 yards a season. So I think that's the logic that I'm using to make myself feel better about it.
I guess. Some other news. There was Debo Samuels, who was traded to the Washington Commanders. I think at first glance, good fit, but again, good fit for about what 6, 7 games in a season. Some other smaller ones were like well, you mentioned Hollywood Brown. DeAndre Hopkins also signed with the Ravens. I know, Raj, you thought that was a
Yeah,
like a cute deal at the
yeah.
beginning.
For 5 mil, I think it's fine. And like, mind you, look, I wish this was like 2018 because or 2020
Yeah,
man. Like, let's go. But to your point, yeah, it's been a graveyard, the Ravens for old and fizzled wide receivers.
Fab.
Um, so it's just to touch quickly, the Debo Samuel trade. From a fantasy standpoint, I don't think it's very relevant. Obviously for Jaden Daniels, it helps him a lot. But from a real football standpoint, I think we spoke about it last week. I like that trade a lot. It really gives them that extra weapon that they needed. It's a legitimate wide receiver too for that offense, and you got to think about it like that too. Also, Christian Kirk that was traded to the Texans. I guess
Mm.
replacing Stephon Diggs and giving another wide receiver two option for CJ Stroud, who also now has no offensive
He didn't.
line.
He
But
didn't. Did he have a year left on his contract, Kirk, or was he
I
a
don't.
free agent?
If
Pretty
they
sure he
traded
didn't
He was
him,
cut.
I'm
sign.
assuming
He was
he
cut, so
had
I
a
think he had a year.
contract.
He
No,
was
he wasn't cut. He was
initially cut,
traded.
and
He
he was
was
initially
traded.
cut, and then there was a report he was going to get cut, and he got traded for the seventh rounder, I believe.
7th round pick. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It was a 7th round pick because I don't know if he was a free agent. Like he didn't re-sign because they could have cut him before.
I'm just going to assume that he was on a contract.
I thought he was
Actually,
on his
I'm bringing up
last.
the details
I
right
thought last
now.
year was his
No,
last.
he has a. He is. Yeah, this is his last year of his contract.
Okay, that's why he's got just this year,
He's a
this year to
UFA
go.
next year.
Got it. And then Fab's favorite, Nick Westbrook Akine, 2 years, up to 6.5 million with the Dolphins.
Sure.
Demarcus Robinson, I guess, to the 49ers, they have to fill the room somehow with some kind of veteran, with the talks of them wanting to potentially trade Ayuk. De'Ami Brown to the Jaguars, 1 year, 10
Yeah,
million. I like that
love
one a
this.
lot.
He was
Yeah.
so good in the playoffs.
Yeah, I
He's gonna
like
have a
that
big
one.
fantasy year.
I
Yeah.
definitely like that one a lot. And one that went a little under the radar, Mac Hollins to the Patriots, 2 years, 8.4 million. But funny how they went from like every big name wide receiver to Mac Hollins, and then they don't really draft receivers all that well, so that one was kind of weird. And then former Chief Justin Watson went to the Texans as well, so they're kind of rebuilding their room with what's his name, was probably going to miss the whole year as well.
Tank Dell.
Yeah,
Dell.
thank
Yeah,
Dell.
yeah. So they needed some bodies. Obviously, notable remaining uh, free agent wide receivers. There's quite a few. There's Stephon Diggs, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Lockett, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Mike Williams.
That's still a good group left, but
Mhm.
I have to think the Pats are going to try to be in on either Ted McMillan or Travis Hunter.
Oh, like that. I feel like they
Yeah.
have no choice, right? Like they
Yeah.
have to go. They have to go high. Or look, I don't know. Does a Stephon Diggs want to go there? Does a Keenan Allen want to go there? I think those are perfect guys for them and to help a quarterback, right? Possession receivers, help a
Oh,
young quarterback.
Cooper Kupp too.
Veterans.
I can
It's
see that
true.
working out.
Veterans. Yeah, you're right. Cooper Cup is also now available as well, as he was released today at 4 p.m. So I don't know. A few veterans, if you throw some money at them, they see a last little payday, and they could be mentorship. And I would still draft that a wide receiver high, just to say, because you've got to hit on one, and some of these guys are home runs. I'll quickly tackle through some tight ends as well. Raj's favorite, Juwan Johnson, signed a 3-year deal to resign with the Saints. 3 years, $30.75 million. Mike Gesicki also said he left money on the table, signing a 3-year, $25.5 million deal. Zach Ertz and the Commanders re-up on a 1-year, $6.25 million deal. Austin Hooper back with the Pats, 1-year, $5 million. And earlier today, Evan Ingram signed with the Broncos, 2 years, $23 million. Fab, who do you like here?
Evan Ingram. If he can stay healthy in that offense, it's looking really good. It's looking really, really good. I like the Broncos a lot. I think that was a smart move. They got some players. Obviously, they have Cortland Sutton, but I feel like Evan Ingram creates that possession receiver scenario that would obviously continue to help Bo Nix. Apart from Marvin Mims Jr. and I'm gonna mispronounce this completely, but Devon Vele or Devon Vele,
You got it
one of those two.
perfect the first time.
Yeah, you got it good the
Perfect the
first
first
time.
time. I want to hedge my bets and say it twice in different ways, just in case one was right, one was wrong. But no, but they needed that tight end offense, right? They need that tight end in the offense. It's going to help Bo Nix a lot. I like everything the Broncos did actually in this offseason, in the last 2 days. Made a lot of smart moves, and I guess that those are some of the benefits that you can. Those are some of the moves that you can make in benefit of having a quarterback on his rookie contract, like same thing like Washington did in trading for Laramie Tunsil. So I've just makes a lot of sense to me. And quickly, just Zach Ertz sticking with the Commanders.
Yes.
Also
Yeah,
happy about that too.
that was my favorite one for sure. Anything to add, Raj?
Yeah, I think this is the year for Juwan Johnson. Like he's improved every year from a catch and yardage perspective. Now there's no Taysom Hill, so it's
Right?
I think we're gonna need a big year from him in a somewhat limited wide receiver core. I think Ingram is I agree is a good move with the short passing game that Sean Payton has, and that's kind of like where Bo Nix flourishes. And Ingram has always been like a good yak guy, so I think if he's healthy, he goes back to potentially his 90 to 100 catch season that he had 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I guess the notable remaining would be Tyler Conklin, but nothing really out there. And I guess Taysom Hill, if you want to call him a tight end, he's going to be out there as well. That'll do it for our skilled positions. Now we'll just quickly go through some of the other big signings in the league because there was quite a few, especially at the cornerback position. So DJ Reed, formerly of the Jets, signed a 3-year, $48 million deal with the Lions. Charvarius Ward, 3 years, $60 million deal with the Colts. Byron Murphy with the Vikings, 3 years, $66 million. Carlton Davis to the Patriots, 3 years, $60 million. Nate Hobbs to the Packers, 4 years, $48 million. Paulson Adebo.
Adebo.
Adebo. Okay, I made it too much complicated in my head. Paulson Adebo, with the Giants, 3 years, 54 million, and then earlier today it was official, Darius Slay to the Steelers, 1 year, 10 million. Raj, who do you like here?
Charvarius Ward. So I believe he's been an All-Pro or Pro Bowler for sure. I know he suffered a really tough loss last year. I think he lost a child in San Francisco, so rough year. From what I heard, he just wanted to get out of California just to kind of restart. And the Colts, you'll touch upon it on the safety side, but they really revamped their secondary, and they were struggling a lot in the deep passing game against. So I really like the Ward signing for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and he definitely broke the bank on that one, 20 million annually. Fab, anyone you like in particular?
I like the Byron Murphy signing. He's coming off his best year ever, and I think the Vikings just continue to steamroll with that defense right now because they made a lot of good defensive acquisitions. And I'm going to be a homer here, and the Giants finally got a cornerback one that they needed because Deontay Banks wasn't doing it, and Paulson Adebo is very much a cornerback one. I was looking at his highlights after they signed him, and he's good. He's really good. So I'm excited for that myself.
Yeah, and on the homer part of things, I really like the Darius Slay 1 year, 10 million
Yeah.
mentorship to Joy Porter Jr. and that cornerback room that I think it was lacking kind of a leader there, and I really like the signing. But one that could go under the radar, I think, is Carlton Davis to the Patriots.
Yep.
Now you have Gonzalez and now Davis on the other side, which could be pretty lethal. But only thing I'm not liking about the Patriots is they're, again, defensive minded, everyone over there, and it's just they're always on the defensive side of the ball. And as of right now in free agency, have not helped. Who's the quarterback there?
Drake May.
Drake May. They haven't helped the young quarterback, and I think that just the defensive mindset. We know that the league is turning into more of an offensive league, so I think they probably should have invested a little bit more there. But
that's what Vrabel's always done, though. That's what Vrabel did in Tennessee, right?
Yeah,
he led
for
with
sure,
the defense,
for sure.
Yeah.
And they
And
had
that's what
that
I
one.
hate about these defensive coaches is they're so stuck in their philosophies that they don't want to change.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's bad signings. They made some really great signings, especially on defense, and they had money to spend, right? But then you go ahead and you give them Mac Hollins to throw the ball to. So it's kind of
Stinky feet guy. But like Josh McDaniels being the OC, like if you think about the type of wide receivers that flourished under Josh McDaniel.
Yeah, but you don't
Who
have Tom
do you kind of
Brady.
who does it make? I know,
it's
but who
not
does it
Josh
kind of make you
McDaniels.
think
It
he'll
was Tom
sign,
Brady.
right? Like, no, for sure, but yeah, fair point. But
Josh McDaniels.
I'm like,
Josh McDaniels.
We
Cooper
should have
Kupp.
just let Mike drop there.
Josh McDaniels is a horrible coach.
Cooper Kupp. No, he's a great offensive coordinator. It doesn't like
with Tom Brady as his quarterback.
Yeah, but he's a very good offensive coordinator.
Yes.
I'll give him that. But I mean, you had the best quarterback ever throwing whoever it was the ball, right? So it helps.
I will just say Tom Brady was like very solid with, I think it was Charlie Weiss, the OC. And then when Josh McDaniels became the OC, he took it up, and that's where he started to have his 50 touchdown seasons, 4,800 yards. So yes, it was Brady, but
Was
it makes
that the
you
season
think.
with Randy Moss?
Yeah, it was just okay, but like, dude, Randy Moss was garbage with the Raiders, garbage with the Titans, or is it the Raiders and
want to play,
Niners?
and then he put him in a room with Tom Brady.
Did they have quarterbacks though?
Kerry Collins, baby.
Yay!
Yeah, hey man, he brought the Giants to the Super Bowl in 2000.
Yeah,
all right,
exactly.
put some respect on his name. They got
Yes.
destroyed by the Ravens, but
Yes,
put
we
some
did.
respect on his name.
Some notables remaining would be Rasul Douglas, Asante Samuel Jr., Kyle Fuller, Mike Hilton, and Stephon Gilmore.
Good names.
Then we jump into the safety. So the Giants and Colts kind of revamped their secondaries with their signing. Big one would be Javon Holland to the Giants, 3 years, $45 million. Cameron Bynum to the Colts, 4 years, $60 million. Talanoa Hufanga to the Broncos, 3 years, $45 million. Justin Reed, Saints, 3 years, $31.5 million. And Trayvon Moring, Panthers, 3 years, $51 million. So again, big contracts being dished out in the secondary. Fab, which one is your favorite here? Obviously, probably going to go Homer style again.
Yeah, no, I love the Javon Holland one, but I also like a lot the Talanoa Hufanga signing for the Broncos. Broncos did fantastic again, like just picking up Hufanga and also picking up was it
Trey Greenlaw.
Dre Greenlaw as well. So I mean the Niners got depleted in their secondary and in their defense, and also the Chiefs too. If you think about it, losing Travarius Ward and also Justin Reed. So but I do like
No,
the
Ward was with the 49ers.
Wars was the 49ers, excuse me. So yeah, but I do like the Hufanga signing a lot actually for the Broncos. I think that really gives them that defensive element that they're missing, especially at safety.
He's just got to stay. I'm surprised he got this much money. To
Gotta
be
stay
honest,
healthy.
because he's been really hurt the last couple of years. Obviously, I know we're a year and a half or 2 years removed from his All Pro season, so I think they're definitely banking on obviously that again. Definitely like the signing, but hopefully he could stay healthy. Raj, how about you?
Yeah, just to piggyback on the Hufanga, it just depends how he'll be used with the Broncos. He's a box safety. Like
Mhm.
he had a 52 coverage grade, so don't expect him to be any good in coverage. So as long as they keep him at the line of scrimmage as like like an extra linebacker, that's fine with me. The Javon Holland one, I think, is a great signing, but Fab, I don't know about you, but like, why didn't we just keep Xavier McKinney, right?
Oh, I have a response for that. This
Please.
guy came in cheaper, and we got a compensatory pick when
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the reason, but that's what's making me sleep at night.
You think Joe Shane is smart enough to plan that much ahead? You can't even plan for a quarterback this year.
Listen, so I will always defend my
You're such an
team and the
apologist.
people
It's
that run
such an
that run the
apologist.
organization. So I will say that I think he is learning from his mistakes, which is proof by the fact of his signings and how they're very defensively targeted. Signing Holland and signing Adebo, and also working on the offensive line. He got a lot of swing tackles and actually guys who play tackle to support insert QB name here whenever they do sign one.
I feel like this is a
Um,
Giants show.
hey man, we got to switch around.
We need
Steelers,
therapy,
a
dude.
little bit too much Steelers talk all the time.
We need therapy.
Well, at least Fab does.
I was thinking the Steelers and the Giants right now, right? Probably two of the more storied franchises in the NFL. I think we can both agree, like biased aside. Can't even find a freaking quarterback to start in week one, man. That's just it's pathetic. It's so pathetic.
There was a podcast I was listening to. He the call on Underdog, and they were saying if Russell Wilson signs with the Giants, his catchphrase will be Giants fans stand tall.
But did you hear the one for the Browns?
Oh
Dog
God.
pound, let's bark.
Oh my god.
That
Oh
one
my
was
god.
my favorite. Man, I saw that one. That one made me. That one made me really.
Stand tall.
Did he have a saying in Pittsburgh, or he's just like
No, but I
they
think the
told him to tone
saying
it
was
down, eh?
like
Is the
people were saying Steelers country, let's weld.
let's weld.
Like that was like the one that like people were
Awful,
writing on like Twitter and say, yeah, it's just awful,
awful.
100% awful. Um, notable, remaining safeties would be Justin Simmons. Actually, DeMar Hamlin re-upped with the Bills on 1 year. There's
Mhm.
Von Bell, Quandre Diggs, and Juan Thornhill, who are still out there. Now on the edge, we get Josh Sweat to the Cardinals, 4 years at 76.4 million, taken away from the Eagles. Khalil Mack re-signed with the Chargers, 1 year, 18 million. Hassan Reddick, 1 year, 14 million. I don't get this guy. We can get into it later, but I don't get this guy after all the holdouts signing another 1 year deal. Deo Adiyingbo. I think that's a great signing. Bears, 3 years,
Yeah.
48 million. Chase Young, this was the head scratcher to me of the day. Saints, 3 years, 51 million. And then Joey Bosa, 1 year, 12.6 million with the Bears. Raj, tell me who you like here.
Khalil Mack, 90 PFF grade, crazy good 88 run stopping grade. He's still an elite player, even with less sacks.
Mhm.
Pressure wise, he's still a beast. So I love the fact that they resigned him. They had to pick between him and Bosa, and they
Yeah.
picked.
I think they
Picked
made the right
made the right
decision,
call.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
fully guaranteed 18 million as well. So that was a nice one. Fab, what about you?
I like the Deo Adeyingbo signing a lot. Joey Bosa too makes a lot of sense, and Josh Sweat, he got the bag, man. Like he balled out in the
Yeah,
playoffs and all of last season. So good for him. Cardinals definitely need a lot of help on the edge. It's a big contract, but I think it's one that's really gonna they're gonna get their worth out of it. For the whole 4 years, assuming it goes that far. I like that contract a lot. I think it's a good signing for the Cardinals.
How did Chase Young get 3 years, $51 million from the Saints? How did that happen?
I was surprised
pedigree,
about that too. I was
pedigree.
surprised
Number
about
two
that too.
overall pick.
Yeah, but he hasn't played like one.
No,
No,
trust me, I know. I'm not saying
no, no,
it's
no.
he deserves it, but it's
That's
pedigree.
wild. That one really floored me. And then along with like I mentioned, Hassan Reddick, all that talk of sitting out and this and wanting a long-term contract, and then turns around 1 year deal with the 49 with the Buccaneers. So
I
that
don't know
one
what his
was
market was though for Hassan Reddick, but I'm assuming a lot of teams probably soured on the fact that he was doing what he was doing last year with the Jets, which was ridiculous. I mean, he went to the Bucks. It's a playoff team. He can perform over there.
in 1 year. Like that was what you were fighting against the whole time.
Well, man, that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's all he could have
Maybe
gotten.
that's all
Maybe the
someone.
other,
Yeah, that was his
yeah,
best deal out there. Maybe.
his market probably shriveled up a little bit.
Notable guys, notable edge rushers left on the free agency wire. Von Miller, Zadarius Smith. Actually, Demarcus Lawrence, I think, was just signed somewhere.
By Seattle,
Seattle, that's it. He went to Seattle. And then Dante Fowler
which
is also
which
still out there.
again, I don't understand what Dallas is doing. DeMarcus Lawrence has been he's been a wrecking ball on that
Yeah.
defensive line for years now, and even last year too. Like he was very good.
They're strapped, man. They're strapped. Like
Jeez.
I
No,
think Parsons is going to be.
they created cap space. They created like 52
Yeah, but
million
I
in
think
cap
they create.
space.
I think that they did
Parsons,
that for Parsons.
Parsons is getting over $40 million.
Yeah. So the
Who's
problem.
who's the one? Who was the latest one to sign the linebacker?
Oh, Max Crosby,
No, it was after Crosby. The
Garrett,
Browns.
Miles Garrett.
Garrett
Miles
Wilson,
Garrett.
Miles
Miles
Garrett,
Garrett.
yeah, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, not the other way around. He signed for $40 million a year. So then now you're playing chicken because TJ Watt is next. So he's going to be $1 million higher, and then obviously Parsons, whoever waits it out, and then they're going to obviously be hold-ins at camp. So
Again,
yeah,
every year,
yeah,
every year. They
yeah,
don't
it's
manage the
crazy.
cap properly. They don't push
No,
years. They
they
don't
don't.
use the
Well,
signing
look at
bonus
what KC just did.
gymnastics.
KC
Yeah,
today restructured Chris Jones and Mahomes, and they created 50 million in cap space. Like
Yes,
it's gonna come due 100%, but they're like we're in win now mode, right? So like might as well use it now and get screwed later once everyone's kind of gone and we have to re-up
it's being
whatever,
cheap.
you know. But yeah, the Cowboys
you,
have done some
you're going to give
terrible cap
Parsons.
managing.
Is Parsons worth Miles Garrett money? 40 million a year.
He's above. He's above Crosby.
Yeah,
Crosby's 35.
He's
yeah,
above Crosby.
he's gonna get more than Garrett Wilson, 100%. The next one to sign always gets this. The next star all to sign next always gets more. We'll go into some linebackers that the sign us as well. Fab, you mentioned Trey Greenlaw, Broncos 3 years, 35 million. Patriots splashing some more money around. Robert Spillane, 3 years, 37 million. Ernest Jones went back to the Seahawks, 3 years, 33 million, and Jamien Sherwood to the Jets, 3 years, 45 million. So relatively quiet day for linebackers. There was a few other ones that signed, but these were the most notable names. Anything to add here, Fab?
No, honestly, no. Like the Dre Greenlaw one makes sense. Jamie Sherwood, I think they just cut C.J. Mosley today.
Yes.
So there it is. That again, it's just filling in a plot that they needed. Yeah, and Ernest Jones too with the Seahawks. I mean, listen, they're gonna need some help on that defense now too. So that all makes sense to me. They're
Raj?
smart deals. They're good deals. I mean, these are going to be very talented linebackers that are going to be helping out those defenses.
Spillane is your classic middle linebacker who plugs the run. Going to be loved by Pats fans. Typical Rabel guy.
Former Steeler.
Former Steeler, yeah, and Raider.
I always liked him. always like these. Yeah,
Massive
massive
neck,
Yeah.
neck,
massive neck.
massive neck. He's got a massive neck. Then on the O line, we've got Dan Moore Jr., still former Steeler here. Titans, 4 years, $82 million. Ronnie Staley re-ups with the Ravens, 3 years, 60 millions. Drew Dahlman to the Bears, 3 years, 42 million. Will Fries or Freeze to the Vikings, 5 years, 88 million. Aaron Banks to the Packers, 4 years, 77 millions. And James Daniel to the Dolphins, 3 years, 24 million. Raj, who do you like here?
So it's a combination of Dahlman and the Bears trading for Tooney and
Yeah.
getting Jonah Jackson.
Yeah.
It's what the Bears needed to do. They needed to focus on the trenches, and they even signed Grady Jarrett from the Falcons too. So
Yep.
loved what they did there. Those guys are, aside from Tooney, both those guys are better run blockers than pass blockers, but still they needed to show up the offensive line. So you can't fault Ryan Poles on what he's done so far.
Yeah, I definitely agree. They definitely went after the trenches, and they definitely shorted up. So the Bears look good on paper right now. The Bears look pretty decent heading into next year. Fab, anything to add on this one?
For me, it was Laramie Tunsil, the trade that happened from
Right.
Houston to Washington, which I don't understand why Houston, when they need help on the offensive line, would trade arguably a top 5 left tackle in the NFL. Um, he had he was ranked 4th overall, 89.1 run blocking grade on PFF. Laramie Tunsil, it's gonna immensely help already a very good offense and a very good team in Washington. Um, Again, it goes back to what I said a little bit earlier in the podcast, right? Like when you have a good rookie quarterback on his rookie contract, you can make big swings like this. They're taking full advantage of that. I think it's a genius move. I love this a lot. For Washington, for Houston, it's a head scratcher, but that's fine.
Yeah, kind of weird. I think they made the deal. They got another offensive lineman back in another trade, but or a signage, but
It's still like a net negative overall, and like yeah,
right.
you got
But it's
some
just
draft picks out of it too. But it's hard to find a good left tackle that you can start every and really protect your quarterback. And you saw how abysmal that offensive line was last year, right? So you just remove and I don't want to talk about the Giants too much, but the Giants are a good example of how good an offensive line can be when your
you just
left
couldn't help
tackle.
yourself.
No, but it's true, right? Andrew Thomas is a very good left tackle, and for the first half of the season last year, we had a average offensive line, which is saying a lot because for the last 5 years, our offensive line was always at the bottom half of the league, and that's and it was a serviceable offensive line, and because it provides stability when you have bookends that are playing the way they should. And obviously, there's Wolf Fries, who's the guards are coming in now too. Not people are realizing, but the guards are becoming just as prominent as well, which is why the Bears did all those trades that they did, and they signed Drew Dahlman, who's top center in the NFL or one of, and Wolf Fry signing with the Vikings, which is going to provide really good protection for JJ McCarthy next year. It just makes sense. Like these are the things that protect your most valuable asset. Why would you trade them away?
So just before I get to you, Raj, I think the reason why they did it, I was reading more into it. There's Stingley that's coming due. There's CJ Stroud that's coming due. There's Will Anderson that's coming due. There's some massive contracts that are gonna be laid out. So I think they're gonna try to get younger and go the way of the draft. And yes, definitely hard to find a left tackle, but when it's the top 5 in the league, he was going to get upwards of probably $30 million a year, and something they probably couldn't afford going forward. So they made a decision.
It was definitely a numbers game.
Raj,
And 19 penalties last year, like not for nothing. A lot of false
yeah,
starts, quite a
a lot of
few
holdings.
holdings, a lot of
Yeah,
holdings.
yeah,
Um, James Daniels, former Steeler, good
yeah.
signing as well
Mhm.
for the
Where's a guardian
Dolphins.
cap?
Where's a guardian cap?
He was
Tua
the
should
steal.
learn from Tua.
He was a steal at that price.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's not expensive
He
at all.
got hurt. He missed most of last year. He got hurt in
Yes,
week 4.
yes,
It
yeah.
was I don't know if it was Achilles or some rupture. Anyways, he was really, really good, but obviously the 4th round rookie McCormick that came in and took his spot did really, really well, so he became um, expendable. But the head scratcher of the day for me at that position was Dan Moore Jr., 4 years, $82 million with the Titans, over $20 million a year. He's given up the most sacks in the last 4 seasons in the NFL.
That's a lot of money. It's a
He
huge
he was
contract.
he was a
Mm.
serviceable player, but when you give up the most sacks in the last 4 seasons, I don't know if it warranted that much of a big contract, but here we are.
Yeah.
Last but not least, guys, on the defensive line, we had some massive signings as well. We had Milton Williams that went to the Patriots, 4 years, $104 million. I think he was, didn't he, there was mention of him going to the Panthers, I think, first, right? And then it was nixed and decided to go to the Patriots.
Yep.
Jonathan Allen, Vikings, 3 years, $60 million. Grady Jarrett, as you mentioned, Raj, to the Bears, 3 years, $43.5 million. And Javon Kinlaw to the Commanders, 3 years, $45 million. Raj, I don't know if you want to elaborate on the Grady Jarrett signing.
No, I think it was a good signing. It's he's been in the league for a while, right? So I think it's a bit of a head scratcher for the Falcons, who are always looking for D-line help, always looking for pass rush help. So I think it was a good move for the Bears. I just want to say Milton Williams, I'm sure you guys will talk about him. Part-time player. I think he plays only 50% of the snaps.
Yeah, he was a rotational player.
Yeah,
Yep.
crazy rotation in Philly, right? Like Jalen Carter and then Nolan Smith, all those guys. So it's like good for him for getting the bag, but like you get that much money, you're gonna have to be a full-time player. So I think will be interesting to see what happens on that front.
Yeah, and funny news, Grady Jarrett, I think he was released, and then 10 minutes later, the Bears had signed him. It was kind of weird how it all transpired. Released, signed.
Yeah, like
It
the
was.
Falcons need pass rush help. They just need defense line help. They haven't done anything yet.
Would it be
Crazy.
funny? How funny would it be if they drafted offense again this year in the
Oh
first round?
God. Wasn't there a report that they were only looking at defensive players at the combine?
Yeah, all their
The
30.
meetings.
They used all
The
their
30
30
30.
draft visits or
30,
meetings,
yeah.
whatever it was, individual
Mhm.
meetings on defensive players, not one offensive player in their 30 that they selected. So,
Good.
needless to say, I believe they're. Imagine they turn
Yeah.
around and they go
Oh my god.
offense.
Oh my god.
They draft Jackson Dart. Oh, that'd be.
Genty. Imagine like Genty and Bijan.
Oh my god, that would be
No,
crazy. And then Tyler Algier just kind of sitting there.
he's just there.
Yeah, anyone that you like really, Fab, and the others that were there.
Yeah, the Jonathan Allen one, I like it a lot. Again, going back to what I said about the Vikings, how they made a really good offseason so far, and I think it's going to suck for Washington because he was a big part of that defense, and he's just going to, the Vikings are going to be taking that player over and really using him to his full capabilities. I like him a lot. It's a good contract too. I was just looking while we were talking quickly. The Demarcus Lawrence signed a 3-year contract with the Seahawks for. Let me get that number up right now because this just happened. 3 years, 42 million. So right in line with Grady Jarrett
Yeah, Dallas
and
couldn't
Javon
afford
Kinlaw.
that. Yep. Yeah. Some big,
Can't get
some
over
big,
that.
big, big signings. A lot of money, and then there was Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that came on Twitter and mentioned how did the Bears have all this money? They're spending all this money. How could it be? And they have unlimited funds and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, didn't you just get paid
Too
$100 million?
Too
Like,
What's
much.
he
He talks
complaining
too
about?
much.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he's complaining
I don't
about.
get it. It's cap gymnastics, man. I just found out today that apparently money left over from the cap the previous year rolls over to this year. So there's your answer, Amon-Ra. Like I had no idea.
I don't know how much they had left last year, but
The NFL cap is such a mystery
weren't
to
they
me. I'll never understand it.
weren't they top 5 in cap money, I think, this year anyways, the Bears?
They were high up there.
Yeah.
I know New England were stealing all the headlines because they had the most amount of
Yeah,
cap.
they almost had 100 million to spend.
Yeah,
Washington
yeah,
had money.
yeah.
Steelers were 5th, I think, with 60,
Plus, a lot of
65.
these contracts now, like GMs are getting wise to the Roseman operation that he does in Philly, and they just start backloading it and worry about it later when the cap increases again by another 10% or 15%.
Yeah, that's what restructures do. That's why
Of course,
teams restructure contracts because the
yeah.
cap is growing. Raj?
Look, I will say, I used to be the type that's like winner or loser free agency. Like, well, you spend so much, like team sucks. The ones that, or you don't spend anything, team sucks. The ones that spend the most, it means that they're winners. Like I was thinking about the 49ers and they let go of a lot of players, or like they didn't re-sign a lot of players. Like I trust Kyle Shanahan and I trust John Lynch, maybe not with clock management, but I trust them in terms of from a scouting perspective. And if they are letting those guys go, they must know something that we don't. I can't say that
Well,
for every GM and coach, but like the teams that let go of a lot of players, man, there has to be a reason why. So
well,
I just don't always want to, like, I feel like we did it in the past where, like, remember when Carolina like made huge strides on the offensive line and made some signings, or in the past when the Commanders have won free agency, or there's been many teams that have won free agency and it doesn't come up to anything. So I think discretionary spending on the trenches, spending on the O line, those are areas where you could see a path to those teams being good, but just spending willy nilly on like any player here and there, I don't fall for it as much anymore. I don't know about you guys.
no, I tend to agree, but the 49ers are up against it.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
have
Of course.
you have Ayuk, who just signed for $30 million a year, and they're stuck with the contract. They're trying to trade him, and with trading him comes a lot of dead cap. You have Trent Williams making money. You have Christian
Mhm.
McCaffrey making money. You have
Yeah.
Bosa making all kinds of money, and now you have a huge chunk of money that's going to be going to Brock Purdy. I know that they're not close in negotiations, and I don't know what that number looks like. I think Josh Allen's contract really probably puts it in perspective for Purdy, where he's going to probably get less than the 55 million now that
Yeah.
Josh Allen got. So I think he's got to thank Josh Allen for that.
Yeah.
But there's that massive contract looming as well. So I think they had a lot of cap trouble, but that comes with also drafting great, and you had all these great players. And look, at a certain point, you just can't pay them all. But
Yeah.
I do, like you said, I have faith that they're going to draft the right pieces, and I have faith in the management they have in place to draft the right pieces to have younger versions of the people they just let go. So
Yes.
not necessarily that you know there's a reason why they didn't sign them because they're not good. I think there's because there's cap ramifications, and you just can't keep everyone. And they had a lot of dogs in that team.
Yeah. A lot of guys were injury prone to what we said though, like Greenlaw and Hufanga, like a lot of guys
Yeah,
who haven't been
Yeah.
playing a lot, like
and you just have to decide at the
most
end
of
of the
them.
day. Exactly, you'd rather keep the healthier ones,
Yeah, for
like
sure.
Christian McCaffrey.
Jordan Mason. They kept Jordan Mason. They need to.
Yeah, he's still under contract.
Yeah.
They need to.
Well, that about does it for us in this free agent frenzy episode. Please be sure to follow us, guys, on Twitter and TikTok, and as well subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Amazon platforms. Don't miss out. Don't miss out on next week's episode, where we will break down our free agency winners and losers in another jam-packed episode. I'm Nak. That's Raj and Fab, and we're out. Cue the music.
What's the over under on Aaron Rodgers signing between now and next week? Realistically, because like,
Just have-
because
we have-
or else,
we have-
how,
We
who's
have
going to be the
stuff
winner or
to
the
talk about
loser?
next week.
Peter Schrager said it could be up to 4 weeks, even. Like it could
Yeah.
be like all the way up to the draft style.
Yeah, he has no reason to sign now. Like there's nothing. His back isn't against any wall. Like,
And then you have the media
this
saying that he's
can-
playing games. Like he's the one that's playing.
I
the
don't think
games.
he's
like
playing
maybe,
games.
maybe he just doesn't know. Like why
Yeah,
can't it
I
just
think
be that?
it's that. I think he just. I really think he doesn't know what he
Artist
wants to do.
retreat.
And I don't even think it's a question of like which team to sign. I think it's a question of him signing or retiring. I think it's at that point.
Maybe.
We will see.
Anyways, we'll see. We'll
See you
see when
next week, guys.
Tommy DeVito takes the first snap for the Giants next year. Peace.
Adios.
Goodbye.